It is December 23rd, 1974. The Fort Worth sun has set, leaving a biting chill in the air. Inside the Seminary South Shopping Center, the car is packed with Christmas presents. Brightly wrapped boxes, tinsel, a festive end to a long day of shopping. But the car is idling, the doors are unlocked, and the three girls who belong inside, Rachel, Renee, and Julie, are gone. No struggle, no witnesses. Just an empty Oldsmobile in a mall that is about to close for the night. Within hours, a mysterious letter will arrive that changes everything. But no one realized that this was only the beginning of their nightmare. What happened to the Fort Worth trio that night? And why, in a state as big as Texas, has not a single trace of them ever been found? Tonight, we're going inside 5 of Texas's most disturbing cold cases. Cases that were buried. Cases that were ignored. Cases that haunt the families who live them. Stay with us because Case 5 will leave you speechless. Welcome to Crime Archives TV, where America's forgotten cold cases finally get the attention they deserve. If you're new here, subscribe and turn on notifications. A new case drops every week. Now let's go back to Texas. Case 1. In Fort Worth, 3 girls went Christmas shopping and vanished into thin air, leaving behind a car full of gifts and a letter that shouldn't exist. Case 2. A stretch of highway between Houston and Galveston became a graveyard for over 30 victims. The killers had a name for it: the Killing Fields. Case 3. 4 teenagers were closing up a yogurt shop in Austin when the lights went out. What happened next remains the most controversial crime in Texas history. Case 4. A 2-year-old girl was sleeping in the back of a truck while her father ran into a store. When he came back, the door was open. Amber was gone. Case 5. A grandmother answers her front door at night, expecting a neighbor. Instead, she meets a hitman. But police believe he was at the wrong house. The Fort Worth missing trio. Mary Rachel Trillica was 17, a young wife with a bright smile. She was the leader of the group. With her were Renee Wilson and Julianne Mosley. Julie wasn't even supposed to go. She had begged to join the older girls at the last minute. They were typical Texas girls excited for the holidays, planning their outfits and finishing their last-minute shopping. Nothing in their lives suggested what was coming, until December 23rd. At 9 a.m., the girls head to the mall. By 6 p.m., they are seen by several witnesses inside the shopping center. Everything seems normal, but then silence. When they don't return for a holiday party, the families rush to the mall. They find the Oldsmobile. The gifts are in the back seat. The girls' purses are gone, but the car is unlocked. The next morning, a letter arrives at the Trillica home. It's addressed to Rachel's husband, Tommy. It says they are going to Houston for a week and not to worry, but the handwriting is shaky. The stamp was canceled on the morning of the 24th after they were already missing. Detectives analyzed the ink. They looked at the fingerprints. They interviewed a security guard who claimed he saw the girls with a man in a yellow pickup, but the leads went nowhere. But here is where the case takes a turn that nobody saw coming. Decades later, a private investigator discovered that several people in the girls' inner circle had secrets. One family member allegedly hid a briefcase for years that contained items belonging to the girls. But by the time police were alerted, the briefcase was gone. 50 years later, the families are still waiting. The case is officially cold, but the Seminary South Mall, now a different complex, still holds its secrets. Do you think the letter was a decoy sent by the killer? Leave your thoughts below. Our next case takes us to a stretch of dirt and marshland outside Houston. And this one involves a serial killer's playground. Case number 2, the Texas Killing Fields. Heidi Fye was 25 years old. She was a barmaid with a quick wit and a loving family in League City. She disappeared in 1983 after asking to use a public telephone. She was the first of many. These weren't just runaways, as police initially claimed. These were daughters, sisters, and friends. Police were overwhelmed. They had too many suspects and not enough evidence. They looked at Edward Harold Bell, a local handyman with a dark past. They looked at William Lewis Reese. The investigation was plagued by the terrain. The marshy Texas soil destroyed DNA and shifted evidence with every rainstorm. The Killing Fields isn't one crime scene. It's a 25-acre patch of land off Calder Road. Between 1983 and 1991, 4 bodies were found in that specific spot. Others were scattered along the I-45 corridor. Every time a body was found, the local community held its breath. The air in the marsh was thick with humidity and the smell of oil and eventually death. But what investigators discovered next would change everything. In 2019, advanced DNA testing finally identified two Jane Does who had been nameless for 30 years. They were Audrey Cook and Donna Prudhomme. Identifying them didn't just give them their names back, it linked them to ABs. While some killers have been convicted for individual murders, many of the 30-plus deaths in the fields remain unsolved. The person who killed Heidi Fye has never officially been charged. Coming up, Case 3, an Austin family that simply disappeared from a crime scene, and 35 years later, not a single answer. Stay with us. Case number 3, the yogurt shop murders. We're halfway through tonight's cases, and I promise you Case 4 and Case 5 are the ones that will stay with you. If you've been watching, do me a favor, hit that like button. It helps more people find these stories. Now, Case 3. Amy Ayers was only 13. She was at the I Can't Believe It's Yogurt shop in Austin to hang out with her friends. Eliza Thomas, 17, and sisters Jennifer, 17, and Sarah Harbison, 15. They were responsible, hard-working girls. At 11 p.m. on December 6, 1991, a police officer on patrol noticed smoke. He thought it was a small fire. He didn't realize he was walking into a massacre. The girls had been bound with their own clothing, shot, and the shop was set ablaze to destroy evidence. The temperature was so high it melted the machinery. The Austin PD faced immense pressure. They interviewed over 1,500 people. 8 years later, they arrested 4 men. 2 were convicted, but there was a problem. There was no physical evidence, only confessions that the men later said were beaten out of them by detectives. In 2009, DNA testing on a vaginal swab from one of the victims revealed a male profile that didn't match any of the 4 suspects. The convictions were overturned. The men walked free. But in 2026, a new breakthrough. The DNA was recently linked to a deceased man with a history of violence in the area. But was he alone? The case remains open because the DNA profile suggests a second unidentified male was present. Do you think the original suspects were involved, or was it a total police failure? Case number 4, the Amber Crum disappearance. Amber Crum was 2 years old. She had blonde hair, blue eyes, and a favorite pair of pink pajamas. She was the light of her mother's life. In 1983, she was just starting to learn how to speak in full sentences. She trusted everyone. It was a hot August day in Dallas. Her father, Justin Crum, pulled into a grocery store parking lot. Amber was asleep in the front seat. He left the air conditioning running and ran inside for 5 minutes to grab a jug of milk. When he walked back out, the truck door was swinging open. The seat was empty. Amber was gone. The search was massive. Thousands of volunteers combed the Dallas area. Police questioned the father intensely, but he passed every polygraph. They looked at a strange van seen in the parking lot. They looked at a man seen walking near the truck, but without a witness, Amber simply vanished. But here is the most heartbreaking detail. Years later, a man on his deathbed claimed to have information about where a small child was buried near a Texas highway. Investigators dug for weeks. They found nothing. It was a cruel hoax or a failed memory. Amber would be in her 40s today. Her mother still keeps a photo of her by the door. If you are watching this and remember a new child appearing in your neighborhood in Dallas in late 1983, please say something. One more case. Case 5. I saved this one for last because of all the cases in Texas that have haunted me. This is the one I cannot stop thinking about. Case number 5, the murder of Marianne Wilkinson. Marianne Wilkinson was 68 years old. She was a beloved grandmother in North Richland Hills. She loved her garden and her church. On December 9th, 2007, she was at home with her husband, having a quiet evening after a holiday party. The doorbell rang at 7:30 p.m. Marianne, being the kind soul she was, went to answer it. As soon as she opened the door, a man opened fire. Multiple shots. He didn't say a word. He didn't try to rob her. He just turned and vanished into the night. Marianne died in her hallway. Police were baffled. Why her? She had no enemies, no money, no dark secrets. Then, they looked at her neighbor. A few houses down lived a woman with a very similar house number who is currently involved in a massive, bitter divorce and a legal battle over millions of dollars. Investigators believe the hitman was given the right address but at the wrong street or house number. They believe Marianne was murdered simply because she lived in a house that looked like his target's. But proving it has been impossible. The target, neighbors, associates all had alibis. The killer is still out there, likely a professional. If you are watching from North Richland Hills, you may actually know something about a car or a stranger seen that night in 2007. 5 cases, 5 families still waiting for answers. 5 names that deserve to be remembered. The Fort Worth trio, the victims of the killing fields, the yogurt shop girls, Amber Crum and Marianne Wilkinson. These are not just stories. These are real people, real families, real pain that never goes away. If any of these cases affected you, tell us in the comments. Which case shocked you the most? Which one do you think will finally be solved? And if you want more, we cover a new U.S. state every single week. Texas was just the beginning. Subscribe, hit the bell, because the next case might be from your state, and it might change everything.